All right, welcome everybody to First Attack. We can actually start on time today.
Yay!
Because I have a different co-host with me today. This is Choysauce, aka Henry Choi.
Hey, what's up?
How's everybody going out there? And I've brought Henry here to help teach everybody how to play Guilty Gear Xrd.
Yeah, so I can't say I'm like a Guilty Gear veteran, but I feel like I'm a good person to come here, especially for like new people, because I'm kind of new to Guilty Gear. But I feel like I've gotten over the hurdle of being a beginner.
Right.
So I'm kind of like, right over the hump, so I kind of understand like all the things that like are hard for new people. Because definitely it was really hard for me to get used to the game at first, because it's really different from a lot of other fighting games.
Well, you also played a little bit of Accent Core, didn't you? Or
that's where I started. Like when they first had it like on the PSN, it's like, oh cool. Like now it's time to learn Guilty Gear. It's like, dang, this game's so hard.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of the thing too, is Xrd, they made the game a lot simpler.
Yeah.
But it's still hard, but at the same time it's not hard. And one of the things that I'd like to do is kind of try to debunk the myth a little bit that this game is super hard, but at the same time, I don't want to get anyone. I want to keep everyone's expectations on the level.
Yeah,
because the game is hard.
Yeah, I mean it's not super easy, but it's definitely way better than the previous, or it's simpler than the previous version.
Yeah.
But I think the reason why like it still feels hard is because they retained a lot of the system mechanics, because they wanted to keep the same feel, which they really did really well. So
I mean the engine is still the original engine. Like even though the game is fully 3D now and everything like that, it's still the same engine. So hang on, let's go over to this camera here so people can see the game, because we're talking about this game and how pretty this game is.
There's a link in the or the title.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So on the title, if you mouse over, I guess. Yeah, if you mouse over on the title where it says First Attack Episode 5 Season 4, you'll see a link to Henry's Dropbox, and one of the documents in there is called Xrd System Basics, and that's kind of a little bit of an outline. Well, it's going to be all the stuff that we're going to talk about, basically, but well, we have it there just to help us make sure we remember to talk about everything.
And everybody can kind of follow along with where we're at.
Exactly. So, Commander Pepper asks when Xrd 1.1 is. So, if you guys don't know, they have a new patch in Japan for Xrd 1.1, changed a lot of things, tweaked a lot of the balance of the characters, added all the home characters to the Japanese arcade. There's no announcement when it's coming out yet.
So we don't even know if it's going to come to Evo, so just keep practicing 1.0.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll have to be used to this version here with, with annoying L-felt grenades and stuff like that.
It's okay.
At first, but
just pick L-felt then.
Yeah. Again, what we're trying to do here today is really teach you Guilty Gear as if you know nothing coming into this. Or maybe if you're coming in as a Street Fighter player and such. I mean, we did this for MK, where me and David talked a lot of things like, if you're used to Street Fighter, this is how it is. This is how it's a little different, because I can assume most people are coming from there. But again, there's a lot of systems in the game, but you start finding out little by little, despite how free-form a lot of the systems are, you start really learning where you're supposed to use everything, and things do start falling into place. So I guess we might as well just get started here, and we're going to go ahead and just go with the very basic systems first. So standard fighting game, you can see at the very top of the screen that there's the life bars, and in the middle there's going to be the timer. At the bottom you see that there's a super meter, but I don't know if you can see it on the stream there, but the super meter is divided into 4 chunks. So, it just goes away right away. Let me do something. Tension gauge. So basically, if you can see there's 4 blocks in there. And so basically, you can consider it, I don't know if you want to consider it 4 levels. Most people call it 2 levels, and you get half of a level, because basically, we'll get into this a little bit. When you get the supers, it costs 2 bars, and that's kind of what it originally was for.
Yeah, so it would change color when you get to 50% in the older versions.
Yeah. So, okay, let me get back our meter. Okay, so the way we usually start these is movement.
Okay, yeah.
Which is the obvious one, which is, of course, you can walk, like most fighting games, crouch, jump in 3 directions here. Now, most games nowadays do have dashes, forward dashes and back dashes. Now, the tricky thing in Guilty Gear is that for every character, it's kind of different.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, most characters will have a dash forward, like so.
Or like a run, basically.
Yeah, a run. And you can see that they different speeds and well, I don't know. I guess Kai and Soul.
I guess the startup is.
Hang on, let me jump over you. Dash forward. Oops, dash forward like before I jump over you. Oh no! Okay, see, Soul's faster.
Okay.
That's what I thought. Okay.
You can race.
So Soul's dash is a little bit faster. So oh yeah, dude, I tweeted this one time. This background that we picked, that movie back there is
dope.
Like, it's like, what the hell is going on? And it's called,
creepy.
What is it called? Lucy and Woof of Life Amusing.
Oh.
I think that's what the movie is called. You can see in the top right corner. And
it's
yeah,
pretty dope.
dude.
I'll sit in the stage and watch the whole thing, yeah.
It's really freaky.
But in any case, so we got the tension is what they call the meter in this game.
Well, before we get there, so on the forward dash, it's going to be different for a lot of characters, right? Like Potemkin doesn't have a forward dash, for example. Slayer has a teleport dash where he kind of disappears and reappears, kind of like a Shinko in Marvel.
Yeah.
And
Eno has like a hover dash, so he just starts going like this.
It's like Engroove Morrigan
Yeah.
from CBS2 for the old school reference there.
Yeah, most characters have a run though.
Yeah.
Like I'd say like 70% of the cast at least.
Yeah. Some character, like even Bedman, for example, when he forward dashes, he gains armor on his dash.
Yeah, his is really weird. So we'll probably talk about that when we talk about him.
So keep in mind, one of the things I forgot I wanted to preface this with is that Guilty Gear is really about them trying to make some really unique characters. And so while a lot of the stuff that we're going to say applies like 95% of the time, there's always an exception in Guilty Gear. So, but then everyone also has a backdash. And Guilty Gear actually, I think, is the game that invented invincible backdashes.
Is that right?
It was the first time I'd ever seen an invincible backdash. Are you canceling it with a yellow?
Yeah. It's pretty dope.
Oh, you end up doing an air attack too. Okay.
Yeah, there's some cheap stuff that you can do with it, but
I had no idea. Okay, but so most of the time you are pretty invincible when you backdash. So if you go like do one, I'll do 1, 2, 3, and then hit it. Okay.
So,
1, 2. Oops.
Or
1, 2.
Or just like try to backdash on wake.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah. So there you go.
It's invisible. Yeah.
Yeah. So you get a lot of invincibility. Different characters have different amounts of invincibility. Like Potemkin.
Ooh, all the way until he lands.
Yeah. Pretty much his
So
entire
good.
backdash is invincible. So it's really good. So, but yeah. So that's the main thing about backdashing. Another thing that's important is that so you have 3 directions of jump. Everybody also has high jump.
Super jump.
Yeah. So basically down up, or you can do down and forward flip, or down and back flip, and it can be any direction of down. It can be offensive crouch or defensive crouch. As long as you hit any of the 3 downs, and then whichever up you hit, you end up getting a high jump. And basically, this just lets you get higher, right? This just lets you get above the opponent.
Yeah, and a really something that's a little tidbit is that when you super jump, you actually switch sides right when you cross them over.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then, but if you regular jump, you'll just stay in the same direction.
Right.
So like, there's some tricks that you need to know about for between the two, but just note that that's a difference.
Woo. And then if I super jump, whoops, yeah, then I can turn around like this. So now, also, most characters have a double jump. Again,
Well, Bedman doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm just gonna say every character again.
Pretty much
everyone has an exception. So there is a double jump here. So if you jump, you can double jump again, and this is very, very useful because one thing that you start learning about a lot of fighting games, when you can change your jump arc, it's actually really important when you can change your jump arc because you can really throw off.
Yeah. So basically, jump at me. It's like
woo! So I can avoid anti-airs like that and such, right? One thing that's important to point out, like you mentioned, so if I normal jump, I won't turn around, but if I jump and then double jump, I'll turn around.
Yeah.
So, oops, I didn't mean to do that. See, I'm so good at instant air dash, I do it by accident. So, now one thing I will note is that on a high jump, you lose the ability to double jump. So when you high jump, you can't double jump anymore. One thing that is a little bit of a little visual cue. If you can't tell the difference if your opponent is jumping or high jumping, you notice that when I jump, it just creates that. If I neutral jump or forward jump, you see that it just makes that. Whoa, is it because I'm too close to you or something? Yeah.
No, you're in the water.
Oh, it's the water. Interesting. Yeah, let me get out of here really quick. Oh, interesting. Okay, never mind then.
Yeah, they still both make the dust cloud.
Okay. I swore in the older ones it was only on high jump, but okay, never mind then. Okay, so you're just going to have to recognize it. But like I said, once you high jump, you cannot double jump. And as you saw just recently, just when I did by accident, almost every character has an air dash, which basically is the same thing as the ground dash, except you do it in the air. Now, if you notice, there's different distances that characters go. So Kai goes particularly far, Soul doesn't go very far, and air backdash, Soul doesn't go very far at all, but I think Kai goes a little further on his too, yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
And there's also no invincibility on any air dashes.
Yeah, so you're committing to a lot when you do an air dash.
Yeah. One thing to note is that right when you start the air, okay, we haven't gotten into air blocking quite yet, but there is air blocking in the game. Let me just say that. So just jump and block really quick. So there's air blocking, right? So even without green blocking, we'll explain how air blocking works in a little bit. But right at the beginning of an air dash, you cannot air block. So like as soon as you dash, you're vulnerable, like that. So I can't actually block there. So if you wait a little bit, then I can block. But right at the beginning of the air dash, you are definitely committed to that. Yeah, some characters have a triple jump. That is actually true too.
Yeah, Chip is the only one that has a triple jump. Yeah.
Yeah, and then some characters also have two air dashes, like Milia.
Milia is the only one in this game.
Yeah. And then
it used to be like Dizzy also had one back in.
So annoying.
Yeah, and then Eno got one in Accent Core plus R.
Did she get?
Yeah, she got double air dash. It was so dope. I kind of miss it, but I'll take the execution barrier away for that. It's all good.
Right.
Anyways, we'll talk about that later.
So one of the key things here, though, is that when you regular jump, you only get one of your actions. So, for example, if you jump and air dash, you can no longer double jump. If I jump and double jump, I can't air dash anymore. So when you regular jump, you can only choose one or the other.
And if you super jump, you could also do the air dash.
Right.
So.
If you super jump, you can't double jump, but you can still air dash. So that's a key thing. So basically, one of the things that you'll see a lot of people do is super jump air dash to try to get in. Yeah. That's actually a way to try to, especially against characters that can cover the ground really well, you'll see a lot of super jump air dash to try to get in. Also, another really good use for that is if, for example, like run at me here and like say you're pressuring me in the corner here, if I finally get a chance to get out, I super jump and air dash. That is a common runaway tactic. Yeah. But yeah, so you kind of have to get used to a little bit to the air mobility options, which is basically when you jump, you can air dash or double jump, but when you high jump, you cannot double jump. Now, there are exceptions to this rule. And I explained a little bit of it with jump installs and stuff like that, but there you go.
There it goes, yeah. You could super jump and then get an extra jump, but that's kind of an advanced tactic, mainly for combos, from what I can tell. So it's not too big of a deal in the for what we're going to go over. So
yeah, and I think I explained how jump install combos work in one of the Xrd episodes that I had. So if you really want to see how jump installs work, we probably won't go into that in these episodes because it's a little too complicated. But as far as movement options, that's most of them. Again, we'll get into a little bit more character specifics later on, like Milia, because she has a double air dash. If you double jump, it doesn't take away all of her air dashes. You can actually double jump and then air dash and stuff like
really?
that. So
I didn't know that.
I believe so. We'll find out when we get there. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So. Yeah, that's all your movement options that you have.
And also your momentum when you're moving also affects your jump.
Right. Yeah, really important.
So you can see I jump super far when I do that. So this is like a regular super jump, but then this is running super jump. Whoa, all the way across.
And also another thing too is when you dash and skid, you can also jump in the middle of the skid, and you see how he moves slightly forward
and
like that.
You can get some weird cross-up stuff.
Yeah. So it's ambiguous. Sort of. Yeah, kind of like that, right?
Yeah, so you play around with it and see how you want to space out your jumps and stuff.
So there's definitely lots of different things. You can even notice too, like when I jump during different times of my skid, like that barely moved forward, but if I jumped here, it moves forward a little bit more, but if I don't skid and jump, he goes a lot farther. So yeah, there's a lot of different momentum stuff with there too, so that's definitely very important to learn. So movement is really important in this game. So learning how to deal with all your movement options is going to be key, because this game, you're going to end up fighting a lot of characters that can feel stuff on the screen and you feel like you can't get in and stuff like that. So you really have to learn how to get your movement options in there to get in. On the subject of air dashing, we should probably talk a little bit about instant air dashing.
Yeah, it's definitely a technique that runs across all anime games, so it's pretty useful to know.
Right.
So usually what you want to do is like hit like up forward and then like forward like right away, or up back and then back.
Right.
So, but in this game, some games like the window is a little tighter or like more loose. For this one, you're gonna want to do it a little bit slower than you kind of feel like you think you should. Because a lot of times if you do it too fast, then you're just gonna get a jump. So,
right.
Because there's a height restriction for the air dash.
Yeah, I mean, there's a pretty big window, so like, I can actually do a really low one to the ground like that, or I can delay it a little bit and get a little bit higher up in the air. Like, yeah, there you go. But to be honest, if you really want to get good offense, you want to learn how to do it as low to the ground as possible. And before we continue, one thing I do want to mention is we're going to be saying, like, you know, hit up forward and then towards as fast as you can, right, to get the instant air dash. I should probably mention the number notation for Guilty Gear. So if you look at the number pad on your keyboard and you imagine all 9 digits as different points your joystick can go, the Guilty Gear community largely uses number notation. Yeah. So for example, if I wanted to do a fireball, I wouldn't say quarter circle forward. I would say 236.
Yeah.
And I literally have to look at my keyboard because I'm terrible at number notation.
Yeah. So it's just like a really fast way for people to tell you what direction they're pressing. So a lot of times you'll hear on streams like, oh, like he did the 6P or 2P or 2H or something like that.
Yeah, we're gonna say that a lot. Trust me.
So,
just out of habit.
Yeah. So if you start getting confused, just start looking at your number pad.
Yeah.
So make sure to note that if your number pad is up, like
if it's a phone pad, you can't use it.
Yeah.
You have to use the keyboard pad.
Yeah, because number 8 is up, and number 2 is down. Just as reference.
So instant air dash is basically 956 is how you would describe it, which is basically up forward, neutral, and then towards. That's the best way to do it. You have to make sure you get to neutral, otherwise.
Yeah, you don't get. Otherwise,
you can't just like move it from 9 to 6,
yeah.
for example. You actually have to make sure you hit neutral, so that actually helps a lot. So it takes a little bit of practice to get good at that, but once you get used to it, like I said, it's really important for a lot of characters, just as means of getting offense and trying to get in there. It actually becomes a really powerful tool. So yeah, and that's one of the problems, because fireball is always 236, but if I'm on the right side, technically it's technically 214, but 214 is spin kick because it's always geared towards
left side person. It's always assuming you're on the left side.
Right,
so.
right. You always assume there. So even though I'm on this side, for example, we said 6P, right?
Yeah.
Even though I'm on the right side, if I say 6P, that means toward.
Yeah.
Basically, even though I'm technically hitting left
Forward,
on this one. Yeah, so. Okay. Yeah, I know there's a lot of debate on number pad notation, and I really don't like number pad notation, but that's just me. So.
Yeah, I think it's more of a I've analyzed like the different notations. I think it's because it's really fast to verbally say, as opposed to like toward,
Yeah.
So because since numbers are just usually just like one syllable, so it's just like it's easy to just like talk about it really quickly.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, for sure. I mean, the only problem that I don't like about it is that. I don't. Let's not get into it.
Yeah. Anyways, that's a different thing.
Okay. So those are the movement options, but like I said, instant air dash is really good, and also you'll notice something, that instant air dash back is a good escape method. So like sometimes if you're like trying to attack someone and then trying to get pressure, and I have a lot of room behind me, I can try to instant air dash back like that to gain some room so I can start my offense going. So. Yeah, Tekken notation is fast. Yeah, that's one of the reasons, because Tekken uses numbers for buttons.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes
you just gotta know
buttons.
it's just the convention for each game, just to understand it and just be with it, you know.
Yeah. All right, so that's the movement options in this game.
Yeah, a lot of movement.
Yeah, a lot of movement options in here. But like I said, it really becomes second nature after a while. You really just kind of understand how you move around and stuff like that. And I know even like in Persona, when you jump over people, there's a command to turn you around and things like that. Yeah. This game doesn't have any of that, so it's actually pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, but a lot of these movement options apply across for most anime games too. So you know, it's once you learn one of them, then you kind of get it down.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about attack buttons, shall we? So buttons, there's 5 buttons in Guilty Gear, which are going to be, depending on how you want to set it up. Ooh, you hit the share button, I think. There we go. Okay. Yeah, no worries.
So usually,
PS4.
Let's see, where's the camera?
Oh yeah, here, let me change the view over here.
Ooh.
So there you go. So there's the view right there. So it's really interesting because the best way to think about the buttons really is that there's increase in strength.
Yeah.
So increase in strength is punch, kick, slash, hard slash, dust. And that is the standard button config for Guilty Gear.
In the arcade, so usually that's how we set it up too.
You actually put the weakest button on light kick right there, and then that's punch. And then kick is where jab is. So this is going to be confusing for a lot of people to try to learn the game.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, they switch these two because they think punch on top and kick on bottom.
Right, exactly.
But, you know, it's a personal preference, you know.
Yeah, and then strong will be slash, and then heavy slash will be fierce. Which is why you actually hear a lot of people say strong and fierce when they do like commentary and stuff like that. And then dust is under that. So it's like an upside down U.
Yeah.
And so basically there's a dead button in the middle, which some people either turn off or set to taunt if they feel like it. So
I think it's default set to taunt, but usually people turn it off just so they don't get those tournament mishaps. Like, no, I didn't mean to do that.
Exactly. Now, people are asking why is that the default button notation, right? So for those of you old enough who have gone to arcades, if you picture the Neo Geo cabinet, they had 4 buttons in a row in an arc. Basically, so that here, let me go back to this camera actually real quick. So that these 4 fingers were very easily could hit the buttons. And to simulate that, that's what they did, right? So they basically put those 4 buttons there. Guilty Gear started as a 4-button game. There was no dust button before, so it was only a 4-button game.
It used to be a 2-button command for dust.
Yeah, and then people started finding out a lot of cheap carry cancel tricks. So they got rid of that. And so basically they added the 5th button, dust, which they added to the pinky. So basically in the arcade and Japan cabinet, it's not like an upside down U, it's more like a wide arc. And to simulate that on home console, people chose to do the upside down U. So some people may even be more comfortable putting, dust all the way over here or something if you want to simulate that. But at this point in time, everyone's just gotten the standard format that most Guilty Gear players is going to be using punch at short and such like that. So
yeah. So you want to be legit, that's what you do.
So you have punch, like I said, very generally considered the weak attack. Kick, so punches are not always, again, characters are going to be different, like Axel, for example, but it's always going to be the quick, short-ranged attack. Kick is usually a good farther range, but still pretty quick attack. And usually almost everybody's crouch kick is a low.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah. And then slash, very good standard button. In fact, we're going to talk about each character's best pokes and stuff like that. For the most part, it's always going to be slash, because slash is just generally a really good button to have.
Yeah, very versatile, usually pretty fast too.
Yeah, pretty fast, good range, and good combo starters and stuff like that. And of course, there's heavy slash, which is the slow, I do lots of damage buttons like that. So, and then, of course, there's the dust button, where if you hold down and hit dust, it's a universal sweep.
Yeah, everybody uses a sweep.
Every character has this as their sweep. So if you want to get a hard knockdown on a character, it's crouching dust. Now there are going to be some other sweep type moves, but for every character, down and sweep is a universal sweep. And then standing dust gives you dust combos. Standing dust is a universal overhead for every character. So no matter what, you have to block dust high for every character. So hit dust really quick. And then, yeah, so I have to high block it. Now, one of the nice things that they did in Guilty Gear Xrd, so a lot of people are like some of these dusts don't look like overheads at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like Milia, she rolls and her hair comes from the ground.
Yeah.
And this is an overhead, which for all intents and purposes in every game, that's a low attack. Right?
Yeah, stuff coming out of the ground. Over.
But the nice thing about it is that in this game, they added a big red spark to the dust. And that is universal for every character now. So whenever you see... So you can learn to react to the big red spark. If you see the red spark, so let me do the dust real quick. Boom, red spark. As long as you see that red spark, that's a trigger in your head. And so doesn't matter who you fight. You've never had to see their dust before. If you can react to big red spark, you're good to go. Mm-hmm. And that'll help you. So someone's mentioning, talking about close and far. I'm going to get to that in a second. Yeah. So the standard buttons, once again, punch, kick, slash, heavy slash, and dust. Right?
Yeah. And the nice thing is in the training mode here, you can see the letters. That's the conventions that we use for like notating them as well. P, K, S, H, S, and D.
Yeah. A lot of people actually just call hard slash, heavy slash H.
Yeah, sometimes they'll just call it H.
They just call it H. So 5 buttons, same thing in the air. Let me just get that over with too. So same thing. And in the air, dust doesn't really become necessarily... So like on the ground, it's universal sweep or universal overhead. But in the air, it's unique for every character. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times it's just another attack. But for some characters like Kai, he has special things where if he jumps in dust, he plants a little thing that you can use later on.
Mm-hmm. And in 6P, for the most part, for most characters, it's like an upper body invul, like kind of like an anti-air-ish kind of move.
Right. So one of the things I want to mention is that a lot of the times people play Guilty Gear, they're always like, oh my god, everyone has all these different moves and like all these different normals and stuff like that, right? Outside of those 5 buttons on the ground, there is a universal standard that every character has a 6P and every character has a 6H. Guaranteed. Every character has that. Yeah. Those are the guaranteed. And then also another guarantee is that on standing slash and only standing slash, you have a close version and you have a far version. Mm-hmm. So that's close and that's far. And it's just standing slash. Oh. Some characters may have it on other buttons, but I can't remember. But the rule generally is if you have your standard 5 buttons, every character has a 6P, a 6H, and a close slash. And one of the important things to know about close slash is that it almost always chains into itself as well for almost every character. So close slash will always chain into far slash no matter how close you are. And then for most part, most characters can then go into crouching slash. So it's actually generally kind of a universal kind of a chain system there. But those are the three common alternate modes of the buttons. Now, parts of the cast will have 6K, which is towards kick. But not every character has this. This is actually unique to certain characters. But for the most part, if you have another command normal, 6K is going to be it. 6K is generally going to be it. Soul does not have one.
Kai does.
Right. Ooh. Yeah, but Kai does. Oh yeah, and Soul standing kick just happens to be the most
god.
insane button in the world. So
the
yeah.
god. Anyways.
But outside of that, for the most part, that's what you're gonna. If you want to know what your buttons are, those are the ones that you're gonna go starting for. There are gonna be some characters with offensive crouch and a button. Mostly Axel, for example.
Yeah, he has that. Oh,
that was my phone. Mostly Axel, but otherwise, if you want to start learning your characters, just do the standard 5 buttons, standing or crouching, 6P, 6H, and then close slash. Those are the standard ones right there. Now, like you were saying, 6P is generally a universal anti-air.
Yeah, a couple characters, it doesn't have the invincibility for it. See, well, it just went right through.
Yeah. It's really good. So generally speaking, You don't have to learn any uppercuts or anything like that. For the most part, most characters 6P is their anti-air. There are going to be, again, some exceptions, such as Elfelt.
Yeah.
Her
It's
6P
just an
is an overhead.
But no upper body involved.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't matter. She has close
Yeah, she's
slash.
good enough anyway.
Close slash, which hits everything anyway. So, but yeah. So for the most part, 6P is a really good move for anti-air, and you can see that it always has startup too. Almost everyone's 6P has a decent amount of startup, so it's not like you can anti-air at the last second.
Yeah, you gotta time it really well.
So if you wait to do it really late, I can usually just land and block if you do it too late. So you really have to have good reaction to it. And if you do it, some characters, if you do it too late, I can actually hit low enough and actually catch you. So you really have to just kind of do it early to make sure that I can't slash.
Yeah, just gotta time it really well, basically.
Yeah. Again, it's going to be different between the different characters. Like Bedman's hits so high up.
Oh, yeah.
I hate that anti-air. Because I played for Temkin, and I fought 7 Bedmans. And I just got hit by 6P all day. Because I cannot jump at it.
It's really good.
Yeah.
At least it feels really good. I'm sure a lot of Batman players will be like, yeah, it's not that great.
Yeah. Yep. The mark of the fighting game too. Every cheap thing my character has is not that good. But 6H, I should say, is usually a really strong attack. Like a ridiculously powerful attack. You see it on counter hit, I get a ground bounce for soul, so I can get all sorts of crazy things. And for Kai, his is a really slow startup, but recovers super fast, so you get a lot of advantage afterwards, even on block.
Yeah, but we'll talk about this when we go over the characters.
Oh, that's actually a really good thing I should mention as well. Actually, we should talk about this during defense, maybe. But one thing I do want to mention is that block stun and hit stun are the same in this game. If you just block, then the block stun is going to be the same as if you get hit. So when Kai does his towards 6, when he does his towards 6, when he does his 6H, the advantage that he has is the same whether you get hit or blocked. So if he does that into low kick, that is a true block string, and there's really nothing I can do about it in between, because that is a combo on hit as well.
Oops.
Now, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be talking about, what about instant blocking? We'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there. We'll get there. But yeah, so 6H, really powerful move for most characters. Like, once you see, most of the time when people do it, it's always like some really crazy buff-looking move. So yeah, that's pretty much it for buttons. Like I said, we'll get into how dust works a little bit later, because you can follow it up into air combos or into ground combos, depending on how close you are to the corner and such like that. So that's probably a good start for the super basics.
Yeah, it's just probably for people that don't really know much about fighting games, it's just you can do all these options and stuff,
Yeah, so again, 5 standard buttons, standing or crouching, and then towards punch, towards heavy slash, and then also close slash are the 3 universal alternate versions of all the buttons.
Oh, also real quick, throw is with hard you get close to them and you do towards hard slash or back hard slash.
Yeah, and that just determines which way you throw them.
Yeah.
And no matter what you do, it's the same throw. So
everybody has one of those.
Yeah. And yeah, so it's not a 2-button throw game. It is a 1-button throw game, and I believe the throws are...
I think 1 frame.
Yeah, 1 frame. So basically, if someone does a media attack, you should be able to throw them every...
Well, if they don't do it properly. If they don't do a media properly, you get to throw them. So.
Can you... Is a proper media attack, sweep me and then do towards 6?
Yeah. So you're not throwing me out of this.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. So yeah, it's hard to do wake up throw then. So but since they're 1 frame, if you don't do it right, you get thrown.
Yeah, you get a free throw.
And for example, try to throw me after I land from my jump. So for example, if I try to don't walk at me, stay right there. So good job.
Well, I think we'll talk about this. I wrote this in my notes.
Did you?
For the defensive options.
Okay,
so.
Cool. Yeah, it's really easy to throw people after they jump at you and stuff like that. So, okay, so that's buttons and movements. I'm gonna take a break real quick, and then when we come back, we'll start getting into your super meter and all the different other little systems that you can do with button combinations and stuff like that. So, we'll be right back.